recorder after 3, and we'll change recorders.
Rosa Maria Lopez.
All right, good afternoon, Ms. Lopez.
Buenas tardes.
Thank you
Good
for
afternoon,
staying.
Your
Mr. Cochran.
Thank you very kindly. Good afternoon, Ms. Lopez.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Lopez, where were you born?
In El Salvador.
And what is your native language?
¿Y cuál es su lengua madre? Español. Spanish.
And do you understand and speak some English?
¿Y usted entiende y habla un poco de inglés? Just a little.
And in the course of your examination here today, would you prefer to speak with us in Spanish or English?
Y en el transcurso de este interrogatorio el día de hoy prefiere hablar inglés o español. Español. Spanish.
Now, you described for us that you were born in El Salvador. How far did you go in school in El Salvador?
Usted nos dijo que
That's very relevant, Jim.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
usted dijo que nació en El Salvador. ¿Hasta qué grado llegó en la escuela?
Cuarto año.
4th grade.
And did you attend all of those 4 years?
¿Y usted asistió a la escuela todos esos años?
No.
No.
And why was it that you quit school after only 4 years, or part of 4 years?
Overruled.
¿Y por qué es que usted dejó la escuela después de los 4 años?
Porque mis padres eran muy pobres y no tenían para comprarme cuadernos ni lápiz.
Because my parents were very poor and they didn't have any to buy me books, notebooks and pencils.
How old were you when you quit school?
¿Cuántos años tenía usted cuando
Overruled.
dejó de ir al colegio, a la escuela?
10 años, digo yo.
I would say 10 years old.
And did you start working at 10 years of age?
Sustain.
At what age did you start to work?
Overruled.
¿Y cuántos años tenía usted cuando empezó a trabajar?
De los 9 años en adelante trabajé.
I worked after from 9 years old on.
And what kind of work were you doing at 9 years old?
¿Y qué clase de trabajo?
Overruled.
¿Y qué clase de trabajo hacía usted?
En el campo con mis padres.
On the field.
Sembrar la milpa, los frijoles, el maíz.
On the field with my parents, I would plant corn, beans, and rice.
And this was in what country?
¿Y eso fue en qué país?
En El Salvador.
In El Salvador.
How many children, how many brothers and sisters did you have, Ms. Lopez?
Overruled.
¿Cuántos hermanos y hermanas pues tiene usted?
6 hembras y 4 varones.
6 girls and 4 boys.
Just so council's aware, because this is a 1335, and not being able to predict the scope entirely at this point, I'm going to be rather broad as far as relevancy is concerned, but understanding that when it comes to the offer of the conditional examination before the trier of fact, it'll be edited if I find certain areas to be irrelevant. But since we're talking about something that is being preserved, in essence, I'm going to be rather broad in relevance, just to let you know.
My only concern at this point is that if I fail to object at this time, the court consider that a waiver at
No.
that point.
No.
No?
No. I'll take your standing objection to background as, I'll take it as a standing objection to background questions. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you. Of the 10 children, how did you fall? Were you the youngest, the oldest, or what?
De los 10 hijos, ¿verdad? Los 10 hermanos. ¿En qué lugar queda usted? ¿Era la mayor, la menor o cómo?
En medio.
In the middle.
Now, when you attended school, how far was school from your home?
Cuando usted asistía a la escuela, ¿a qué distancia de su casa quedaba la
This is
escuela?
pretty far afoot.
This is the last question in this area.
Okay.
A 3 millas.
Can I give the answer?
Yes,
I
please.
did. 3 miles away.
And how would you get to school each day?
¿Y cómo llegaba usted hasta la escuela todos los días?
Caminando.
Walking.
Now, once you started to work, as you've indicated, I guess at 9 or 10 years of age, how many years have you worked in your life?
Desde que usted empezó a trabajar, como dice que ha trabajado desde los 9 años, ¿cuántos años ha trabajado usted en su vida?
50 años.
about 50 years.
So from the time you quit school, have you continued to work up until today's date,
O sea, del
until
día
1995?
Overruled.
O sea, desde que el día usted dejó de estudiar, ¿ha continuado usted trabajando hasta este año de 1995?
Sí,
Yes.
Now, at some point, you left El Salvador and you came to the United States, is that correct?
Llegó el momento en que usted salió del Salvador y se vino a los Estados Unidos, ¿verdad?
sí.
Yes.
And when was that?
¿Y cuándo fue eso?
En 1969.
In 1969.
And have you continued to live in the United States since 1969?
¿Y usted ha vivido continuamente en los Estados Unidos desde 1969?
Sí,
Yes.
And have you returned to El Salvador during that period of time, during the last 25 or 26 years?
¿Y usted ha vuelto a El Salvador durante ese periodo de tiempo, es decir, en los últimos 25, 26 años?
sí.
Yes.
And do you own any land or property in El Salvador?
¿Y usted es dueña de alguna de terreno o propiedades en El Salvador?
De la casa que me dejó mi hijo.
The house my son left me.
Now, with regard to your son, how many children have you had in your life, Ms. Lopez?
Hablando de su hijo, ¿cuántos hijos ha tenido usted?
7.
7.
And did all 7 of those children survive childbirth?
¿Y sus 7 hijos sobrevivieron el nacimiento?
I'm going to link it up with regard to the children who live
Please.
there.
I didn't hear the ruling of the court.
No, she can answer the question.
Puede contestar la pregunta, ¿cuántos de esos 7 hijos sobrevivieron el nacimiento?
Solamente 4 viven.
Only 4 living.
All right, and of the 4 children who, I guess, survived childbirth, how many of those children are alive now?
Y de los 4 hijos que sobrevivieron el nacimiento, que nacieron, ¿cuántos de ellos están vivos todavía?
Solamente 2.
Only 2.
And what happened to the other 2 children?
¿Y qué pasó? ¿Qué le pasó a los otros 2 hijos?
Me lo mataron. La niña que tenía 15 años se desapareció y no le he vuelto a saber de ella para nada cuando empezó la guerra.
They killed them. The 15-year-old girl that I don't know what happened to her since the war.
Y mi hijo era piloto aviador y me lo mataron los guerrilleros, lo derribaron del aeropuerto.
And my son was a pilot. He was a flyer, and that the guerrillas shot him down.
Is he a helicopter pilot of some kind?
Él era piloto de helicóptero de alguna clase.
Sí, era teniente.
Yes, he was a lieutenant.
And there is a war that's been going on for some time in your country?
Y hay una guerra que ha estado pues ocurriendo por algún tiempo ya en su país.
Sí.
Yes.
With regard to the 4 children, when you came to the United States in 1969, did you bring all 4 of the children here?
Hablando de sus hijos, cuando vino a los Estados Unidos en 1969, ¿trajo sus 4 hijos para acá?
No solo me traje 2.
No, I only brought 2.
And are those 2 children still here now, living in the United States now?
Y esos 2 hijos todavía viven aquí, están viviendo en los Estados Unidos ahora actualmente.
Sí.
Yes.
And the other 2 who lost their lives remained in El Salvador?
Y los otros 2 que perdieron sus vidas permanecieron en El Salvador.
Sí.
Yes.
Now, with regard to your son who was killed as a helicopter pilot, do you have some plans with regard to him and his burial?
Overruled.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Did you
Sorry.
have?
Yes, as regards your son, the helicopter pilot who was killed in the war, do you have some plans regarding his burial?
Hablando de su hijo, el que era piloto de helicóptero, que fue muerto en El Salvador, ¿tiene usted algo planeado o tiene planes usted concerniente a su entierro?
Ponerle su tumba y hacerla como él me la pidió, de ponerle su tumba militar y un helicóptero y su nombre y todo, porque no está así, que no tuve el tiempo de ponérsela.
Well, to do as he asked me to do, is to buy him a tomb and put his name on it, and buy him a helicopter, and like as he asked me, because I never had time to do so.
Was that word tomb? Did you say tomb?
Dijo tumba.
Tumba, sí.
And the
Tomb,
helicopter
yes.
that you would purchase, is this a full-size helicopter. Describe the helicopter you
Y
would
el
purchase.
helicóptero que le va a comprar o que le va a poner, describa este helicóptero. ¿Es un helicóptero de tamaño normal o descríbalo?
Es en la Fuerza Aérea, los mismos compañeros de mi hijo les hacen su helicóptero de metal pequeño para decorar su bóveda.
His co-workers at the Air Force have make a small metal helicopter for him to decorate his tomb.
All right. Once you came to the United States, after a period of time, did you become a resident alien? Did you become documented at some point?
Después de que usted vino, después de un tiempo de haber venido a los Estados Unidos, usted se hizo residente legal, extranjera residente legal. Yes.
And when was that, if you recall?
¿Cuándo fue eso, si usted recuerda?
No me recuerdo específicamente, no me recuerdo, pero parece que fue el 88, no estoy muy seguro, 88, 89.
I don't remember specifically, but I think it was 88 or 89.
Now, you described for us earlier that when you first started working at 9 or 10 years of age, you worked in the fields. And when you lived in El Salvador, is that always the kind of work you did? Did you work in the fields or did you do some other kind of work?
Usted dijo que ha estado trabajando desde que tenía 9 y 10 años de edad y siempre fue en los campos, ¿verdad? ¿Ese fue el trabajo que usted hacía siempre cuando estaba en El Salvador, el trabajo de campo, o hacía otra cosa?
No, trabajé de housekeeper.
No, I work as a housekeeper.
And for how many years in El Salvador did you work as a housekeeper?
¿Y por cuántos años en El Salvador es que usted trabajó de la casa, pues, del hogar, housekeeper?
Por mucho tiempo, no me recuerdo.
It was for a long time, I don't remember.
All right, now once you came to the United States and after 1969, what kind of work did you do at that time, ma'am?
Después de que usted llegó a los Estados Unidos en 1969, ¿qué clase de trabajo hizo usted en esa época?
Aquí.
Here?
Yes, in the United States.
Sí,
yes.
aquí en los Estados Unidos.
Housekeeper.
Housekeeper.
I'd like now to direct your attention to approximately 1992 or thereabouts. Were you working as a housekeeper in 1992?
Quiero hacerle recordar el año de 1992, más o menos. ¿Usted estaba trabajando de housekeeper en 1992?
Sí.
Yes.
And at some point, did you go to work for a family by the name of the Salingers?
Y en algún momento usted empezó a trabajar por una familia que de apellido los Salingers?
Sí.
Yes.
Do you recall when that was approximately?
¿Usted recuerda cuándo fue eso aproximadamente?
Creo que el 92 empecé con ellos.
I think I started with them in 92.
All right, and how long did you work for the Salingers, if you recall?
¿Y por cuánto tiempo trabajó usted con los Salingers, si recuerda?
El 6 de enero cumplí 3 años y entré a 4.
January 6th, I completed 3 years and I started into the 4th.
All right, and do you still work for the Salingers now?
¿Usted todavía está trabajando para los Salingers actualmente?
No.
No.
And at some point, did you leave their employ?
¿Y en algún momento usted dejó su trabajo con ellos?
Sí.
Yes.
And when was that?
¿Y cuándo fue eso?
Febrero 10 del 95.
February 10th, 95.
Prior to leaving the Salingers, had you asked for some time off work?
Antes de salirse de donde los Salingers, ¿usted había pedido un tiempo de descanso?
Le dije que me debían una semana de vacación ellos.
Well, they owe me a week's vacation.
Y yo le pregunté a la señora si me daba 2.
And I asked the lady if she could give me 2.
Y ella dijo,
And she said,
no.
no.
And what happened after that, if anything?
¿Y qué pasó después de eso, si es que ocurrió algo?
Ella se sienta en el comedor
She sits down in the dining room,
y me dice, nosotros hemos hablado
and she said, we have talked,
que
that
me quiso dar a comprender ella que con tanta presión que yo tenía,
she was letting me, trying to let me know that with all the pressure that I had, or that was.
All right, this is not responsive to the question. Mr. Cochran,
Let
you
me
want to
ask.
ask
I'll ask another question.
I'm sorry? It's not responsive, yes.
You sat down and had a conversation on or about, was it February 6th, with Ms. Salinger?
Objection, that's leading.
That's foundational to the next question.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
All right. You had a conversation with Ms. Salinger in her living room, was it?
Usted tuvo una conversación con la señora Salinger en su sala,
en el comedor del
in the dining room.
All right. And what happened during that conversation?
¿Qué ocurrió durante esa conversación?
Ella dijo, hemos platicado y he pensado que si te vas, que te vayas por un tiempo hasta que toda esta presión pase.
We have talked that we have decided that if you are going to take off, you can go for some time until all of this pressure is over with.
And what pressure were you referring to at that point?
¿Y a qué presión se estaba refiriendo usted en ese
A
momento?
todos los reporteros que llegaban a la casa.
To all the reporters that would come over to the house.
And the house we're talking about where the Salingers live is located where?
Y la casa de que usted está hablando que de los Salinger, ¿a dónde queda localizada?
El 348 No Rockingham.
3.
Were the reporters in and around 348 Rockingham of some concern to you
Los reporteros que
in
estaban
January and February of 1995?
en el 348 Rockingham le preocupaban a usted en enero y en febrero del 95.
Sí.
Yes.
And if you know, was of some concern to the Salingers, the reporters who were around?
Y que usted sepa también,
Sustained.
Did you have a conversation with the Salingers where they ever expressed some concern about the reporters in and around 348 Rockingham?
Objection, that's leading and calls to
Sustained.
Are you aware of how the Salingers felt about any reporters who may have been around the location? You can't answer that. So, are you aware?
usted, I'm sorry, Your Honor, can I have the question read back?
Yes. Is there any dispute about this?
Yes,
That the Salingers were concerned about the press coverage?
yes.
Okay. Madam Reporter, would you read the question back, please?
Are you aware of how the Salingers felt about any reporters who may have been around the location?
¿Usted sabe cómo se sentían los Salinger acerca de los reporteros que podrían haber estado, que estaban alrededor del lugar?
Se sentían mal.
They felt bad.
Did you ever, without you answer this yes or no, did you ever have a conversation with the Salingers with regard to the reporters who came around 348 Rockingham in the months of January and February of 1995?
¿Puede contestar esto con un sí o con un no? ¿Alguna vez usted tuvo alguna conversación con los Salinger acerca de cómo sentían ellos acerca de los reporteros que llegaban ahí al 348 Rockingham en enero y febrero de 1995?
No.
No.
Now, do you know the gentleman, or you know who this gentleman is to my left, sitting next to Mr. Shapiro here? I'll go ahead and put my hand on his shoulder.
¿Usted sabe quién es este caballero que está sentado aquí a mi izquierda, cuyo he puesto mi mano encima de su hombro?
Mr. OJ Simpson.
Mr.
All
OJ Simpson.
And where do the Salingers live in relation to Mr. O.J. Simpson's home, if you know?
¿Y a dónde viven los Salingers en relación con la casa del señor O.J. Simpson, si usted sabe?
Son vecinos.
They are neighbors.
And you described for us that you'd worked for the Salingers a little more than 3 years. During that period of time, did you ever meet or talk with Mr. O.J. Simpson?
Usted ha dicho que trabajó para los Salinger más o menos por un periodo de 3 años. Durante ese periodo de tiempo, ¿alguna vez usted platicó con el señor O.J. Simpson?
Una vez,
One time.
And when was that?
¿Y cuándo fue esa vez? ¿Cuándo fue?
Mrs. Salinger me pidió el favor que le hablara a Mr. Simpson porque sus nietos querían que le firmara unas pelotas de jugar fútbol.
Mrs. Salinger asked me to talk to Mr. Simpson because she wanted her grandchildren to sign they want him to sign some footballs.
For the grandchildren?
Para
the
los
Salingers'
nietos,
grandchildren?
los nietos de los Salinger?
Ya para Josh Billen.
Yes, for Josh Billing.
That's the names of the two
¿Cuál es
grandchildren?
su nombre?
Josh Billen. Joshua Billen.
Joshua Billing.
All right, was there one grandchild or
En
more than one?
Graviel Viles.
¿Había más de un nieto?
Sí.
Yes.
What was the name of the other
¿Y cómo se
grandchild?
llamaba el otro?
Grevio. Graviel Billen.
Gab
Gravi.
Gravi,
I don't know.
Billing. I don't know.
All right, do we know how to spell that for the record?
¿Usted sabe cómo se escribe el nombre?
Yo lo escribo Gravier en español.
I write it as in Spanish, Gabriel.
That's
Gabriel?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes,
All right.
Gabriel.
Now, with regard to these two grandchildren, Josh and Gabrielle, did you in some way try to get the footballs autographed by Mr. Simpson?
Hablando de los nietos, ¿verdad? De Josh y Gabriel, ¿en algún momento usted trató de que le pusieran el autógrafo, el señor Simpson, en las pelotas?
Los niños fueron con él, yo los llevé al gate y ellos entraron con Mr. Simpson.
The children went to him. I just took him up to the gate, and then they went inside with Mr. Simpson.
Did he autograph the footballs for them?
I'm sorry?
Did he autograph the footballs for them?
¿Él le puso los autógrafos en las pelotas ahí?
Sí, estaban muy contentos los niños, sí.
Yes, and the children were very happy, yes.
Right, other than this one time when Mr. Simpson autographed some footballs for the two grandchildren for the Salingers, did you ever talk to him or know him or become his friend?
Además de esta vez, ¿verdad? Que los niños le pusieron el autógrafo ahí. ¿Alguna vez usted habló con él o le platicó a él o se hizo amiga de él?
Nunca.
Never.
You knew he lived next door, however. Is that correct?
Sin embargo, usted sabía que él vivía en la vecindad.
Sí.
Yes.
Now, you have two children that you described for us who live in Los Angeles, do they? Is that correct?
Usted tiene dos hijos que usted nos contó que ellos viven en Los Ángeles, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Yes.
And do you also have any grandchildren?
¿Usted también tiene algunos nietos?
Dos
Two.
niñas.
Two girls.
When you worked here in the United States, would you ever send any money any other place? Becomes a link it up here.
Oral.
Yes.
Cuando usted ha trabajado aquí en los Estados Unidos, ¿ha mandado dinero a alguna otra parte?
He mandado a El Salvador cuando tenía mis otros niños allá.
I have sent it to El Salvador when I still had my other children there.
Did you ever assist any of your other relatives to come from El Salvador to the United States?
¿Alguna otra vez usted ha ayudado a alguno de cualquier otro de sus parientes a ayudarlos a venir para acá? No conteste todavía.
Oral.
Puede contestar.
Mi hermana, traje a mi hermana.
My sister, I brought my sister over.
All right. Now, I'd like to direct your attention, Ms. Lopez, to the date of June 12th, 1994. Do you remember that particular date?
Quiero ahora hacerle recordar, señora López, el día 12 de junio de 1994. ¿Usted recuerda ese día?
Sí.
Yes.
Do you remember what day of the week that was?
¿Recuerda qué día de la semana era?
Domingo.
Sunday.
And on Sunday, June 12th, 1994, were you working for the Salingers at that point?
Y el 12 de junio de 1994, ¿usted todavía estaba trabajando para los Salingers?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
And if you recall, were the Salingers at home or in the United States at that time?
Y si usted recuerda que los Salingers estaban en la casa o en los Estados Unidos esa noche.
Andaban por Europa.
They were in Europe.
And did you work on that particular Sunday, June 12th?
Y usted trabajó en ese domingo en particular, el 12 de junio.
Sí.
Yes.
And was anyone else at home with you on that particular date, if you recall?
¿Y había alguien más en la casa con usted en ese día en particular, si usted recuerda?
Solo ellos me dejan cuidándome a mí solita.
They just leave me there taking care of things by myself.
All right, and what were your duties on that particular Sunday? What kind of things were you doing at the Salinger home on Sunday, June 12th?
¿Y cuáles eran
1994?
sus obligaciones en particular? ¿Qué clase de cosas estaba usted haciendo ese el día 12 de junio de 1994?
Como es domingo y es mi día off y ella no me paga mucho dinero por ese día, nomás $25 me da por el día
Well,
off.
because it is a Sunday and it is my day off, and she doesn't pay me a whole lot for my day off. She only gives me $25.
No, hago muy pocas cosas, mantengo ordenada la cocina y cuidarle la perra, porque ella para eso me deja, para que le cuide una perra.
I do very little. I clean the kitchen and I take care of the dog, female connotation. And that's what I do, take care of the dog.
All right, is that what you did on June 12th, 1994?
Bueno, eso es lo que usted dijo el día 12 de junio de 1994.
Sí,
Yes.
And what kind of dog is this?
¿Qué clase de perro es este?
Golden Retriever, something that, I don't know.
Golden Lab, Golden Retriever, something like that, I don't know.
All right. Now, do you recall whether or not in the evening hours of June 12, 1994, after about 5 o'clock, did you ever have occasion to do anything with the dog that afternoon?
Objection, that's leading, Your Honor.
Rephrase the question. Rephrase the question.
Certainly, Your Honor. Did you have occasion to ever take the dog out of the house after about 5 o'clock on June 12, 1994?
Same objection.
Sustained.
With regard to this golden Labrador Retriever, did you do anything with that dog on that particular day?
Hablando de este perro dorado, Labrador Retriever, ¿hizo usted algo con ese perro en ese día en particular?
Se le da de comer a las 5 de la tarde y se saca para afuera, señor.
She gets fed at 5 in the afternoon, and then she's taken outside, sir.
All right. Did you feed her at 5 o'clock on this particular day, Sunday, June 12th?
¿Usted le dio de comer este día en particular el 12 de junio de 1994?
Sí.
Yes.
And after you fed her at 5, what time, if you recall, did you take her out after 5 o'clock on that particular day?
Y después de que usted le dio de comer a las 5, ¿usted recuerda que hora la sacó para afuera a caminar en ese día en particular?
A las 7.
At 7.
All right. And with regard to the Salingers' home, can you tell the court, jury, where you took the dog? Which part of the Salingers' property did you take the dog at that time?
Objection, that assumes the fact 9/11 took the dog out. It's unfortunate.
I'm asking which part of the property?
I'll allow the
Took it
question.
out.
It's critical, Your Honor.
I understand. She can answer the question.
Answer.
Y I have to translate first. Y hablando tocante a la propiedad o la residencia de los Salingers, ¿en qué parte es de la casa es que usted sacó a la perra a andar?
La saqué al lado de atrás, de la yarda de atrás.
I took her to the backyard.
All right, Your Honor, I would like, if you can, don't move this around, Your Honor, I might.
Mr. Douglas, you want to give us a hand here? Try not to kill the interpreter.
I emphasize that on the laser, if we have a location, I'd like to have it put on the screen.
Can we see it before the witness sees it, Your Honor?
The council already seen it, so.
All right, see it on the council's monitor before we do this.
Is that being shown to the witness now? Can we see it? Is there any point now? I'd just like a chance to see the exhibits.
All right. Mr. Cochran?
You proceed. All right, Ms. Lopez? Do you wear eyeglasses?
¿Usted usa anteojos?
Sí, sí.
Yes, sir.
Do you have your eyeglasses with you today?
¿Usted tiene sus anteojos hoy?
No.
No.
Are you able to see clearly on the monitor there before you?
¿Usted puede ver en el monitor ahí claramente el que está cerca ante usted?
No.
No.
Do you need to borrow some eyeglasses of some
¿Necesita
kind?
prestar los anteojos de alguien?
Of course.
Yes, she does. Just 1 second.
How about Mr. Glazier's?
I want somebody near her age, and I'm looking for a baby. May I just move the other, Mr. Bailey? Try these two pairs.
Que pruebe estos dos pares a ver si...
Let me see what I can see. I know eating too much fish, for it I lost my eyes. I can see con esto.
¿Qué dijo, señora? Dijo,
No miro nada con esto.
I can't see anything with those.
Yo no distingo dónde está mi casa en este pedacito.
I can't distinguish where my house is in that small
All right,
portion.
let me show you a larger board.
Maybe she can
Te voy a
step down and
enseñar
take a
uno
look
más
at the big
grande,
screen.
entonces.
Would that help?
It might, let me try this, Your Honor.
All right.
Try this.
My glasses work fine this morning. Could I show her how to use them?
Be my guest. As soon as Mr. Cochran clears his exhibits. I'd like it placed so that Mr. Schuman can get a shot of it.
Well, that's put it up here, and then I have it at that point.
All right.
The diagram of the photograph on the screen, you have it described it, Mark?
Yes,
Mr. Harris?
diagram on the screen, Chair.
That is laser disc display D108.
D108.
D108D.
All right, Madam Interpreter, can I get you to stand one way or the other because you're blocking the...
I would like to know where he called.
Sorry, this is rather unusual. All right, Mr. Harris, the clerk advises me we'll have to make that defense 1,044. Have to print that as 1,044.
Now, Your Honor, I'd like to, 1044 was it?
Yes.
I'd like to mark this board, which purports to be an aerial view of the Rockingham properties and also the Bundy property as defendants next in order. The D 1045.
1044 or 1045?
If these, one on the screen is 44, Your Honor.
One on the screen is 44. This will be 145. 1045.
1045. Now, Ms. Lopez, can you be able to step down? Can you, first division,
Baje,
Yes.
por favor, y con el permiso de la corte.
can you look at the property on the left-hand side of
Puede mirar la propiedad en
defendants
la mano
1045?
izquierda de la exhibición de la defensa 1045.
And see if you
A ver
recognize
si
this
usted reconoce
property.
esta propiedad. Yes. I had the dog up here.
All right, for the record, Your Honor, she's indicated in the back portion of the residence, she's pointed some grassy area.
Appears to be the lawn area of the side behind 348.
All right, is that, show us where 348 is, the place where you worked in Salingers?
Over here.
All right, show us the house, please.
Enséñanos la casa, por favor. This is their house.
All right. Did you have a particular area of that house in which you lived, ma'am?
¿Usted tenía un área en particular donde usted vivía, señora?
Aquí.
Right here, right here.
No, she's indicating that toward the, I guess, the front of the house, on a wing here, apparently she's pointed as the place where you resided, is that correct?
¿Ese es el lugar ahí en esa ala del lugar donde usted vivía? Así es.
Sí.
Can the other witness indicate that on the diagram, Your Honor?
There was an answer. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I think it was translated.
Mr. Darden, I would suggest if you want to do that on cross-examination with the laser distance, it's the same thing. You can put a mark on that and hold it. But she pointed for the record, and I did see where she pointed.
Thank you.
Mr. Cochran?
Thank you. Now, can you show us while you're up at the board there, can you show us?
Let me just ask one question. Mr. Firth, you're getting in the way of Mr. Schuman. You're going to need to slide back. Thank you.
Can you show us where Mr. OJ Simpson lived?
¿Podría mostrarnos a dónde vive el señor OJ Simpson?
For the record, she's identified 360 North Rockingham.
Here, all of this house, all this house. This is the garage, the kitchen, and then the dining room or living room, something like that.
Objection, motion to strike the second part of the answer is not responsive, Your Honor.
That's his house.
¿Esa es la casa de él? Yes.
All right. You may resume your seat. Maybe you shouldn't stand.
Puede pasar a sentarse otra vez.
Now, if I might ask you, why don't you take another look through those glasses and see whether or not you can pick out anything on the monitor?
Very hot.
Que por favor use nuevamente, trate con los anteojos otra vez y a ver si puede usted
I'm sorry, Ms.
identificar
Lopez,
algo
did
en
you say
ese
it's very
monitor.
hot or it's very hard?
Very hot. Hot.
Hard,
Ah,
okay.
Muy duro, señor.
Duro, sí.
Very hard.
Hard, duro, yes.
Ahora sí, porque está una lucecita verde, miro.
Now I do because there is a small green light I can see.
All right, will you direct him where to put Mr. Harris will move that small green light. Can you show, tell him where to put the green light as to the Salingers' home?
Yes.
Indíquele usted dónde tiene que poner él la lucecita verde en lo que se refiere a la casa de los Salingers.
All right, Mr. Cochran, you're going to have to move.
Right here.
Right here.
Oop, now you're in our projector there.
I can't see her either, Your Honor.
All right.
All right.
Right there.
Right there.
All right, is that where is that the Salingers' home?
Esa es la casa de los Salingers.
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
Can you point out or direct Mr. Harris as to where your room, where you lived, when you were residing there with the Salingers?
¿Puede indicarle, señor Harrison, a dónde era su cuarto, ahí donde vivía usted en la casa de los Salingers?
¿Dónde está la lucecita ahora?
Where the little light is right now.
All right, shall we mark that?
Yes.
Mr. Harris, can you do that?
Ms. Lopez, is that the location where the arrow was pointing?
Sí, señor.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, that's where you reside.
Ahí
And
donde usted-
so that we're clear, Mr. Simpson's home was the home to the left on the picture, is that correct?
Para estar claros, la casa del señor Simpson es la casa que queda a la izquierda.
¿Dónde está la luz ahorita? Sí.
Where the light is right now, yes.
All right, is that, will you mark that also?
Yes.
And that's on 1044, you know.
Yes.
Now, so that we're also clear, when you took the dog out in the early evening hours of June 12th, you pointed to an area where you took the dog apparently behind the house. Can you show us again by arrow where that was?
Sí, right.
Nuevamente, señora, le está indicando la noche del 12 de junio donde usted sacó a la perra a caminar en el traspatio. ¿Puede indicarnos dónde está esa área?
¿Dónde está la flecha ahorita?
Where the arrow is right now.
All right, that area back there?
Esa área ahí atrás?
You can mark that area also.
Yes.
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 All right, approximately what time was it when you took this dog in that area depicted there on Defendant's 1044?
Objection, as to name.
Just for foundation.
Call roll.
Aproximadamente nos puede indicar como que horas eran cuando usted sacó a la chucha a andar ahí en la 1040, exhibición 1044.
Como a las 7, 7 y 10.
Around 7, 7:10.
All right, and then after that, how long were you out in the back part of the house, if you recall, with the
Después
dog?
de eso, ¿cuánto tiempo estuvo usted en el traspatio de la casa, si usted recuerda?
Unos 20 minutos porque juego con la perra.
About 20 minutes because I play with the dog.
All right, was that part of your duties on Sunday?
¿Y esa es parte de sus obligaciones el domingo?
Sí.
Yes.
All right, and thereafter, after you finished playing with the dog, where did you next go?
Y
Ms.
después
Lopez?
de eso, después de que terminó de jugar con la perra, ¿para dónde se fue?
Para mi cuarto.
To my room.
All right, and that is in the front part of the Salingers residence, is that correct?
Y esa es en la parte del frente de la casa de los Salingers, ¿así es?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, now, approximately how long did you stay in your room at that particular time, if you recall?
Y ahora, aproximadamente, ¿como cuánto tiempo permaneció usted adentro de su cuarto esa vez?
Pues, allí me estoy porque como ya no tengo que hacer nada.
Well, I just stay there because I don't have anything else to do.
All right, and then there come a time when you went outside the house again?
Y
Overruled.
luego llegó el momento en que usted tuvo que salir otra vez de la casa.
Salí a las 8:15 para afuera de mi casa.
I went outside of my house, date 15,
All right. Yeah, maybe we approach
aproximadamente.
for just a moment.
approximately.
Maybe approach just a moment, Jeremy.
Yes. With reporter or without?
No, without.
I'm going to take a 10-minute recess to change court reporters right now. I have to change court reporters, and I have to give the interpreter a rest. So we'll start again in about 10 minutes. All right, we'll be in recess for 10 minutes.